All right, everyone, what's going on? This is Zen from Zen Multiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So we have some things to talk about, and there's some seems to be some controversy around the internet as of today, which is October 11th, 2021, right? And it comes around that DC's new Superman, right, which is Jonathan Kent, comes out as bisexual. So what are my thoughts on that? Let's find out in a little bit.
You will never amount to anything.
We shall see.
Okay, so what are my thoughts on it? I don't care. I don't care. What I mean by that is that I don't care about Jonathan Kent's preference um, or even love interest, right? Number one, it's written by Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor, and I've said it before, is an amazing writer, right? One of the best writers I've ever read. And I know of his work from um, Deceased and also Injustice, right? And I think he's done the Robin books, right? So he's an amazing writer. So, and I've read Superman, Son of Kal-El, and it's an amazing book, right? I haven't gotten up to number three, but number one and two is just really preferences around, well, Superman, his dad, right, has really been beating villains. You know, he's been doing big things, right? But things haven't changed, right? And one of the things that Jonathan wants to do is to make changes that are long lasting, right? And I think there's a metahuman in the first one, and it kind of alludes to that, right? So we're now the internet is raving and going on, right? Because they're like I'm never gonna read this book again. I'm dropping this title. It's not my Superman, things like that. You're right, it's not your Superman, right? um Especially if you're going to denounce the character because of their preference. I don't really care about the preference, right? What I do care about, right, and a lot of you know this, is that I like Superman for the character that he is, right? For doing things for the right reasons. And I always reference back to Christopher Reeves, which is my Superman, right? And one of his interviews, he talks about, like, he always saw Superman as just being a good neighbor, right? For helping those in need, right? And I saw that in this book, right? So um does it feel forced, right? As so many people are saying on the internet. This is the part that I could kind of agree, because when it comes to forced trends, right? And what I mean by that is, and please, whoever's in the the community who might be watching this, please don't take it as wrong, but I just even remember when we had the Black Lives Matter movement, right? um there were certain societal trends that were being pushed, and it was represented in industrial products, right? Industry based products, rather. Same thing was said for comic books, right? And I feel like this is what's happening right now. That certain characters, well, they were put in two different challenging positions, right? The first was basically, well, how do we introduce a character that is of that community, and how do we introduce a character that is going to be important enough for people to care, right? So what they did is they took a relatively new character, right? And he wasn't defined, right? Did he need to be defined? No, right? And that's my plight, right? Jonathan Kent did not need to be defined as bisexual or anything, right? Um, Originally I thought that he would just meet someone out in outer space, right? Especially when they aged him up really fast, right? Which goes into a lot of uh, the confusion that I have for, like, why are they pushing it so fast, right? But whatever, they are. And why I mentioned societal trends earlier is because I think that they're trying to reach that community, right? Um, because what we know with supply and demand, someone has to be asking for this, in order for this to happen, right? And I believe that that's all it is, right? It's that there are people from the LGBTQ community and questioning who are comic book readers and lovers too, and would like to see themselves represented in the comic book. So they chose a character that is fairly new, but is gonna stand their mark in terms of popularity, right? Not gonna be just a one-off character that's the pages quickly turn and you're like, oh man, that was a character that they try to introduce, but that character was whack, right? I think a lot of people grown to love Jonathan Kent, and they were able to tinker with this idea, and they're still, and this is experiment at the end of the day to see if this character will stand the test of time, right? Do I think he will stand the test of time? Yeah, I do. I do think because he is already a stand still character, right? Um, I think the plight that a lot of people have now is his interaction with Superman is going to change Superman's stories. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I do think there are going to be plot devices and summaries that will lead into a conversation of sorts, right? So let's look at some of these pictures, right? Let's look at this one first. Number one, I see this is for DC Pride, and this is number 5, where number 5 is Son of Kal-El, right? Where Jonathan Kent is talking to this person, right? Who is going to be the love interest eventually. Or let me not say the love interest, right? Because I'm not too sure about the story. It might be just the character that he goes through this exploration, this human experience, um, like Dave Chappelle said in his comedy, right? A human experience, going through a human experience, right? Whatever that might be, because everyone has a different type of human experience. And the cover looks pretty cool, right? The artwork looks good. And then we have this other panel here, which kind of alludes into that conversation. And I won't read the whole thing because of copyright reasons, but it says, I get why you were trying to hide. And then Jonathan says, but I wasn't trying to. And he says, it's okay. It must be hard because you're his son, right? And this conversation has everything to do with being Superman, right? But it has everything to do with what the conversation again eventually will evolve into, right? So it's a thing, right? We can't deny that it's a thing that is, I guess, caught people by surprise, right? But we can't judge. Please don't judge people, right? Because then it goes two ways, right? Don't judge people for being surprised by this announcement, right? And then I guess the counter argument is like, why should people be surprised at all? Well, I guess because we didn't know, right? We didn't know it was coming. Does that mean that we should judge based on our surprise? No, absolutely not, right? But again, people are the controversy is coming through what people see as being forced, right? And again, based on what I said, I think this goes back into societal trends that are being followed. But at the end of the day, it's not just societal trends. It has to be a supply and demand of some sorts, because there has to be a group of people who are asking for something to happen, right? And I think DC Comics has taken a stand on what they want to do, whatever that means, right? On making a Superman bisexual. And this one happens to be Jonathan Kent, right? So those are my thoughts on it. Am I going to stop reading Son of Kal-El? I've only gotten up to book number 3. And the story was really great. I just stopped reading it at the moment because there were so many books that I was reading, right? Like X-Men and things of that nature, right? But I'm not going to stop reading Son of Kal-El because, like I told you before, the story started off really strong and good, right? And I think I'm just biased because it's written by Tom Taylor, right? And anything that Tom Taylor writes, I'm on board, right? So I do think that this is something that plays a plot point in terms of his character development, but it isn't his. It isn't. If the story revolves around his relationship, then I understand where people's gripe might end up being, right? But if it's just like, whoa, this character likes this person and that's it, just like a lot of other superheroes, then at the end of the day, that's all it is, right? That's kind of like my take on it. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section. But one thing that this channel goes around, because a lot of people could be like, oh, Zen, you're just being really nice, right? No, I'm not just being really nice, right? I just really don't care, right, about those things. Right? You like what you like, and you don't like what you don't like. So if it's a book that you no longer want to read, then don't read it, right? I think that's what it comes down to. And yeah, that's about it, right? So I say, like Christopher Reeves would says, I think the most important aspect of being Superman, right, is about him helping the neighbor, right? If all of a sudden this Superman stops helping people, and it's all about like relationships and societal um, conflictions when it comes to that, then I don't know, maybe it's time for a different book, right? Otherwise, don't really care, right? It's about helping people, being good for the right reasons, and that's why I read superhero books as an escape from society in some respects when it comes to work, so that I could reinvigorate myself, right, in terms of imagination. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, and I will catch you all later for the next video, because there's a lot of topics that are coming out that I would love to have Zen talks about. And yeah, later everyone.